Well, howdy folks, Shawn here from hikingwithshawn.com, and today we are going to do something a little bit different. Alrighty folks, I'm here at the Fuller Dome Home Museum.
Ta-da!
Here in Carbondale. They also call it the Bucky Home or Bucky Dome.
Bucky Dome, yep.
And I'm here with a couple of board members. I'll let them introduce themselves to you. Go ahead.
My name is Mike Javinko, and I am the vice president of the organization who oversees and stewards the Dome Home, and we kind of run it as a home museum.
And he didn't mention he's the archivist of the board, which has really been proved to be very valuable. My name's Elizabeth Donahue. I'm the board president for a little over a year now, and happy to steward what we're doing now. We've got the dome restored, but now our focus is on what we can expand as far as outreach, really with hopefully global impact, and collaborating with Buckminster Fuller Institute, a national organization, and getting the visitor center done so we can just welcome more and more people.
Alrighty folks, so I normally go hiking, and I definitely do a lot of that, but I wanted to come here because this is the kind of place that on your way to your hikes, when you're coming through Carbondale, and Carbondale's smack dab in the middle of everything, you can stop here and you can sightsee this place and learn about some really cool history that really has a lot to do with nature. All right, folks, I got Mike and Elizabeth here, and they're going to kind of give you an overview of, who Bucky was. So take it.
Bucky was.
Yeah.
Okay, this is always a hard one to tackle. I could go with a simple answer and just describe him by what he was described as in his life: a futurist, an engineer, a architect, an artist, a polymath person, and I know that comprehensivist. I know that I'm a systems thinker. I could just keep going, and that's the point. Is that it's kind of hard to contain in a box. So I think what I rest on a lot of times is he was a global thinker, focused on solutions to solve the world's most pressing problems, and he dedicated a good portion of his life to doing that.
And so how he ended up here in Carbondale is he patented the geodesic design in the mid 1950s, which this home is a geodesic design, which is basically a series of triangles that all come together in either pentagons or hexagons to make a really, really, really strong structure. During the late 50s, he did some collaborations and some consultation with SIU, and all of that must have gone really well because Delight Morris, who was the president of the university at that time, offered him, greatly incentivized him to come here and be a permanent faculty member. In fact, it was so generous that his contract stated he only had to be on campus 2 months out of the year. He was a prolific traveler and speaker, and so that was the main impetus, and what he wanted to do was to spread his message. So it all worked out great that Morris was that enthusiastic about getting him here to allow him that level of liberty.
And I think he knew what he was doing. Obviously, Morris was really good like that. He knew that he was capturing somebody that had the world's attention at the time.
Yeah.
That was focused on hope for the future at a time when that was, needed and necessary. And I'll mention that Fuller was the most prolific of his life in Carbondale during his years in Carbondale.
Yes.
He published the most. He received the most patents. And as you said, he traveled the world
literally millions of miles.
But then also managed to bring a lot of people here as well. So.
Yeah. His office was actually just on the strip over here a few blocks. The now gone plaza that once held 710 Bookstore, his office was just a couple of doors down. And he had several rooms in it, and they said it was always, even when he wasn't there, it was just a flurry of activity.
Yeah.
Because he just had so many different projects going on always.
Oh.
All right, Mike. So, just to sweep here, and there's quite a bit of a book collection. Can you kind of touch base on, Bucky's relations to these books.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So the books that you see right now are part of his extensive personal library. The library in its entirety was donated to us in 2001 by his family, and what we see here in total is about 500 to 600 of the 3,500 books in his library. Now, the remaining books, we struck a deal at that time with the special collections at Morse Library on, SOU campus. And so they are very generously storing all of the rest of his library for us until such time that our visitor center is finished and we can then, have the entire library on site here. One book in particular I'd like to highlight is this one here. So for any of Shawn's fans who are also fans of Stanley Kubrick or the movie 2001, Arthur C. Clarke, the author here, wrote the novel 2001 specifically for Kubrick to be able to create that movie. So very famous. And Clarke was quite a thinker, futurist, inventor to his own right. And as it turns out, he and Bucky were good friends. In fact, many of these volumes are hand-signed or hand-inscribed by the authors to Bucky. And, as the site archivist, something that has kind of been impressed upon me going through a lot of these books is, people writing these books were intellects of their time, but yet they were still extremely humble with Bucky, because these inscriptions are like, I humbly offer you my greatest work. I hope it's up to your standard. So really, people really thought highly of Bucky during the mid 20th century. And just all the wonderful inscriptions in all of his books are quite a testament to that.
So I know many people that are watching might be interested in nature, and of course, Bucky's really, that's kind of one of the main things, the driving force behind a lot of his design. Really, he believed triangles were the building block of nature, and he didn't necessarily understand why we would build everything in boxes. The beauty of the geodesic dome, the way that it's structured, is it actually gets stronger under stress. And it behaves, if you even look at certain viruses or cellular levels, they kind of break down to geometric shapes. And so he also had a reverence for nature beyond the science of it and the mechanics of it and building. He was a deep student of ancient systems and recognizing that nature is its own. If you think of nature as a system, it's completely self-sufficient. And he thought that we had a lot to learn from that and to live within it instead of trying to dominate it. And I'm standing in front of the boat, which I think is important because he grew up in and around the water, and he was in the Navy for a bit. He would literally at his family home have to row to go get the mail, and so water informed a lot of his design. He was always thinking, and if you think about sailing, you have to think how much things weigh. You have to think of things as a contained system, and that's the same in for the geodesic dome. He had an infamous quote saying, "How much does that building weigh?" And so I think that he used nature that informed all of his design. But then also, he's known as the father of the modern sustainability movement, always saying that we could do more with less and that we should preserve what we have. And he also gave us the term Spaceship Earth, as in the vernacular, at least that we know it.
All right, folks, so we're gonna step into a little room and learn about a really cool thing.
So after Bucky left the dome, it became a rental. And in the early 80s, a local guy named H.B. Koplowitz was one of the tenants who lived here. During that time, he wrote the manuscript of a book that some of your viewers may recognize, Carbondale After Dark. So he wrote that here, and at some point during his time here, he actually initialed and dated the wall. During the restoration, the team stumbled, the crew stumbled on this, and so the board stepped in and insisted that we preserve it. So that's why, there's the difference in color in the paint, because that's the original paint from the 1980s. So just kind of a really cool little tidbit that we chose to preserve. And, I wasn't involved with the board at that time, but I'm sure glad they made that decision, because, I know Koplowitz, and he's a great guy, and, he's part of the legacy of this place, and so is his book.
Yeah, it's like an artifact in a utility room.
Exactly.
I mean, it's people can get an experience in here just about in every room.
Right, and while we're in here, I mean, Bucky was all about efficiency, radiant heat. From the 1960s, which is really cool. And as you can see, one of the beautiful things about the geodesic design is how efficient it is with energy. In fact, some geodesic homes use up to 2/3 less energy to heat and cool their homes compared to traditional structures. That's significant.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I recently saw a video where a guy was saying in his, he lived in Louisiana, and after Hurricane Katrina, he built a geodesic home because he's like, I want something bulletproof. And he didn't realize the energy benefits, but he said his own old home, which was about the same square footage, cost about $300 a month at that time to heat and cool, and his new home is less than $100.
That's crazy.
That's significant, and still very comfortable.
And these books, you sell them here, don't you?
Yes, or you can find them online, or I think there's actually even a website, Carbondale After Dark. So It's a great cult classic.
Yeah,
it's a book that at least natives really appreciate, and people who went to SIU during this time period.
I was born in Carbondale, so
you need to get a copy.
Yeah. Alrighty, folks. So we're going to do a little tour of the dome home here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. It's really, really cool. First thing I want to kind of point out is this cool painting picture of Garden of the Gods. So they were telling me that this ain't the original picture, but when he lived here, he had a picture of Garden of the Gods. So he was definitely into local nature. So we'll just kind of walk around here and let you see it. They got all sorts of books and stuff you can buy. So bring some money. And here's a little front room area. Pretty cool. They even throw in a camera you can take home with you. Not really. That's Mike's. But there's all sorts of stuff to see. We went upstairs and you saw all of the books. Got Bucky here. It's very, very cool. Little kitchen area. And me and Michelle recently stayed in some dome homes, and it's kind of interesting to see one that is so historical, because the ones we stayed in were, put up pretty much the year we stayed in them. So a lot of historical items. I can still remember using one of these in school. A lot of people don't. Guess that tells you how old I am. So then we got a cool bedroom area, and of course the bathroom. And there is a cool hidden gem I want to talk about here. So after Bucky officially created the patent for the geodesic design, he started reaching out to manufacturers and the military, to do things with this design. Let's basically get it working for the people. And so one of the manufacturers he scored a contract with, or a partnership with, was an outfit in Ohio called Pease Domes. And basically what they did is they would manufacture these pentagon and hexagon panels and then ship those, like on a flatbed from Ohio to wherever they needed to go.
and then these would be assembled by their people or whoever into the geodesic house. Remarkably, well, maybe not remarkably, but unsurprisingly, this is, if not the first, one of the first geodesic homes ever to be built. And at least a small part of the reason Bucky chose to build this house this way was kind of as a proof of concept that you could live in a circular house and be comfortable. And after that, you know, especially during the 70s, there was a real explosion in people building and designing, you know, structures using the geodesic design. In fact, probably one of the most well-known is Spaceship Earth. Bucky didn't have anything directly to do with that one, but it's still rooted in his, you know, what he invented.
Mhm.
So,
And I was told that they pretty much rebuilt the house around that to make sure that it's
right.
You know,
So during the restoration of this house, when they were pulling, you know, these panels off, they uncovered this, and this normally was covered.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, just like with the initials in the utility closet, the board at that time just saw this as such a cool little artifact,
Yeah.
original to the manufacturer of the house anyway, and just it's, you know, it's part of its history, that they opted to leave it exposed like that, and he built this little framing around it. So just a cool little tidbit that you get when you come for a personal tour.
Yeah.
Or you watch it on Hiking with Shawn.
Yeah. There you go.
So what you have is the quote, I have to say it, sorry, make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense for disadvantaged anyone. So Bucky he had a deep reverence for nature. His family was from the like East Coast area, New England, and they actually had an island that didn't have electricity. It was very much like just like back to the basics if they were there, and they spent large chunks of time there. Comes from a legacy. He was considered one of the first families that the legacy of his family, and his great aunt was Margaret Fuller, who's actually often credited with laying the foundation for the American feminist movement. And so I think that it's really interesting that she traveled through Illinois. He considered himself a deep student of hers, even though they lived 100 years apart. But she had traveled through Illinois shortly after Native Americans had been pushed out of their lands. And she had spoken in a book called Summer on the Lakes about the beauty of Illinois. It actually changed her. She had multiple statements saying how she came different than she left because of witnessing the nature and the beauty, but also because of seeing how Native Americans lived, but in their absence, and grieving that, and talking about how people would talk about Native Americans, but my goodness, here they were advanced to her. And I think because Bucky said that he's a deep student of hers, and he had helped people working on things with her, and this wasn't kind of as known as part of his history. I feel like he absorbed some of that. He would have had to if he read her items. So all part of a family history. In jumping forward until about 2019, I think, or 2020, after the dome was completely restored, the family, the estate, decided that they would gift the items back. I could be getting my dates wrong on exactly when that was, but what I'm standing in front of here was Anne, his wife's writing desk. She was known for writing like, very thoughtful handwritten notes. And this is an heirloom piece from her family. And if you look at all the pieces in here that they're gifted back, you're standing behind some. They're called the foo dogs, which are also very valuable items. And the artifacts just really mean a lot to us. And they mean a lot because I think it means that we know that the family trusts us with them, just like the library. And that's, monumental for what we're trying to build.
All right, folks. I didn't show this. I wanted to show this. This is a photograph of Bucky and his wife when they actually lived here in the dome. So that's very cool to show.
If I can point out, here's the two foo dogs.
Yeah.
From the photograph.
Yeah.
So those were part of the donation from his family back in 2021.
Yeah.
And these were a gift to them from his wife's parents, and these 2 food dogs are several centuries old and
Right.
very high quality. Very, very nice
Wow.
pieces.
Now this is
just a photo of up there during the restoration. This was
Okay.
completely rotten
right.
as they were working on it.
Wow. And now I'll show you all what it kind of looks like now.
Mhm.
So it looks really cool. Definitely come here for the experience of seeing this geometric dome, you know, I mean, and learning about the strengths and everything of them. It's pretty cool, you know, when we stayed at the dome home that was built quickly and new, you know, my wife was looking up information about how they can withstand a hurricane. So, I mean, that's pretty interesting. The stuff we make our houses out of now, you know.
And the military has done research and has data supporting
Yeah,
the strength of the geodesic dome.
right.
In fact, this is one of the most common architectural designs used in Antarctica, one of the most, brutal habitats in the entire planet,
Right.
because it's resistant.
I think that was his whole point. And there was even some talk at different times about using geodesic structures to cover cities
Right.
for protection.
Yes.
And I firmly believe, I mean, he was a futurist. I don't think that we've seen the rise of the geodesic dome yet, you know,
Right.
because of the usefulness of that.
Yeah.
So
Well, so speaking to putting domes over cities,
Mm-hmm.
he wanted to put a 1,500 foot at its top geodesic dome over Long Island, New York, and he wanted to put one, I don't know how tall it was going to be, but it was going to be a mile in diameter over East St. Louis.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know if you remember the experiment a while back called the Biosphere.
Is that like where they made the movie Biodome?
Yeah.
I was going to mention that.
It was a real thing.
Yeah,
They're trying to put, people in there for that. 'Cause
Right.
They wanted to create another, to see if they could survive.
Yeah.
Like, not just as a survival test, but how could we create a system,
Right.
you know what I mean, separate or whatever from that. And it wasn't the dome that failed. It was the people and the
Right.
psychology of the situation.
Yeah,
But
a lot of people kind of misconstrued, the implications of living
Right.
underneath a beneath dome,
Yeah.
which was not Bucky's intention whatsoever.
Right.
These were just how things, rumors kind of get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's effectively what killed both efforts, was just, the public's sort of
Yeah.
ignorance about all of it.
Yeah.
And something that really inspires me. So first you have this is the man that patented the geodesic dome home. Or the geodesic dome. So when you see a dome anywhere in the world, anywhere, it's traced back to here. And this is the only dome that he ever lived in. And it's actually the only home that he ever owned in his life as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, what I see as I'm working, with the organization, is all the people that he's inspired. Some that he worked with in his life and teaching, but others that have found him afterwards that are working for solutions.
Right.
And so it's very much tied to, how do we, I don't even want to say save, but it's about regenerative ecology, really.
Right. Yeah, the absolute biggest beauty of this design is how little resources are required to construct it.
Much more efficient.
It's the best use of materials to space, ratio in the physical world.
Right.
There is no other design that's more efficient than this.
All right, folks. So here is a photo, and the sun's kind of glaring a little bit. Let me see if I can fix that, get in the way of it. But it's a photo of Bucky and Walter Cronkite, who was a big reporter on the news, national news. So that was in 1966. There's a whole lot of these cool gems throughout this house, this home, for you to check out and kind of learn about the history of this place. So definitely come visit. My video isn't going to give you the kind of justice you're going to get if you come here and actually visit and see it for yourself. So this has been a really interesting tour that you've given me, and I really appreciate it. But this is not something that, I'm getting that no one else can get. Other people can come here and tour. So tell everyone how they can come here and visit.
So we don't really have established times that we're open yet. We are, actively pursuing the funding and, the staff to be able to do that someday. But in the interim, probably the best way is either just to like us, of course, on Facebook and Instagram and all the socials. And then you can either contact us through that, or we have an email.
rbfdomenfp@gmail.com. And then also we've been hosting at the last Sunday of every month. I think this is a great way to see the dome. Last Sunday of every month. You still got through the end of the year, and we might continue it. It's been really popular. So at least in the next couple months, we'll be doing an open house on that Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. And it's a great way to see it. You can stop in and, there's board members around to talk to you about it, see what it's all about, and hear kind of some of the exciting things we're doing.
A little bit of nice background music, and every time we've done it, we've lucked out, and it's just been absolutely beautiful weather.
Yes.
So.
I want to put a little plug in, though, too, that one of the big things that we're working on as an organization is we're partnering with the Buckminster Fuller Institute, the national organization, that they really want to relaunch the World Game. The World Game is a resource simulation game, but you play it in person on a big Dymaxion map. That's something we didn't even get to because the Dymaxion map was Bucky's way of kind of more realistically showing what the Earth was and that we were all connected in it, and kind of resizing things to more realistic proportions. Anyway, in April around Earth Day, we are hosting a Fuller Futures Festival. And so we're going to be taking, calls for panels, installations, talks, that kind of thing. It'll be through SIU and through us and the Buckminster Fuller Institute. And we're going to play a world game. So that would be great if anybody is interested enough to want to come and do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
And folks, I'll put all the information down in the description below, how to reach this place, how to, like them on Facebook, contact them and all that, just so you can have it. All right, folks, so we're at the Labyrinth Peace Park here in Carbondale near the Strip, and it's a really cool dome, and I'm going to have Mike talk about it to you so you can know its reference to the Bucky Home video.
So this structure, during the time that the dome was being restored, there were parts of it that were rotten, so it was, exposed to the elements. So they needed something to go over the dome to, protect all the good stuff that was still inside. And so a company built this for them, and they put a big tarp over it, and it remained that way for several years because it took a lot of years to raise the money and then do the work to, properly restore the dome. And then after that time, this obviously got relocated to its current location right here, which is, as you can hear, right next to the train tracks and just down a couple of doors from Harbaugh's. So the significance of this exact spot is there was a geodesic built here sometime, a few years after Bucky built his house, that served as like a counselor center for about 20 years before it fell into disrepair and had to be, taken apart. But this is the original foundation to it, and I don't know if you noticed from the video or any of the pictures earlier, but it's the same style of, the same shape of foundation. It's a, I guess this would be a 1, 2, 3, 4 octagon. Yeah. And now this is like a little maze that kids or whoever wants to give it a walk and see if they can solve it. But it's just another little piece of Bucky, Carbondale embracing Bucky, which for many, many years, for reasons unknown to most people, Carbondale didn't really seem to embrace him as much as a lot of people thought they should. And, part of our mission is to change that. So. tagging along? Yeah, get you out of the house, right? So this structure is colloquially known as Bucky's Haven. During the 70s, again, inspired by the geodesic design and the fact that they were just, that design was spreading like wildfire really around the whole globe during the late 60s into the 70s. Geodesic structures like this in homes and other types of buildings were popping up everywhere. In fact, there were several of these geodesic pavilions kind of scattered around this part of Campus Lake Trail, and this is the only one remaining. It's not tied directly with Bucky, meaning he wasn't a part of it being conceived or built or anything, but it's obviously taken from his design. So it's just another cool artifact from that era. Now, as we go inside, these five-sided leaf shapes are an art installation by one of our board members named Benjamin Lauder. He is the director of one of the geodesic domes on the campus of SIUE, but he also has served on our board for 15 years or something to that effect. He's a farmer, an artist, kind of just a jack of all trades. And yeah, all these panels he created, and then SIU allowed him to install them here a few years ago.
Very cool. Alrighty, folks. So that was the Bucky Dome home. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out the description below for more information about this place. It's really cool. Be sure to like this video, share it, comment down below, and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you on the trail.